And following the appointment of 110 ministers under President Akufo-Addo's government, the Information Minister Mustafa Hamid has dismissed assertions that the lean government ensures effective governance.
This number of ministers that the President has presented to Parliament brings his entire government to 110 ministers of state and deputies, who would assist him deliver on the very ambitious program of national transformation and development. The Akufo-Addo government has inherited a country whose economy is at its weakest. And therefore, he requires a strong army that will confront these challenges and resolve them in the rapid manner that we require in order to put our country back on the path of progress and development.
Mustafa Hamid said a lean government is not a yardstick to measure success of a government.
Nowhere did we ever promise a lean government, because in our view, it is not the leanness or bigness of a government that determines its output and its ultimate performance. We have had in the history of this country governments that are smaller, that have landed this country in bigger debt and bigger mess than governments that have had bigger, if you want, ministers. For example, the Akufo government, apart from this Akufo-Addo government, would have been the government that had the biggest number of ministers and deputy ministers. But everybody knows President Kufuor's record in this country. Everybody knows at the end of President Kufuor's government what we did for this nation. Those who came subsequently after that and created all the financial mess that we have on our hands, which we are still dealing with, had smaller governments. So I can purport to run a government with 10 ministers and still create an avenue for them to loot our nation, if that is what the Ghanaian people want. Or to have a government that is bigger than that, but which has people of integrity, of honesty, who are on the job and doing the things that ought to be done.
So on the back of the concerns that have been raised regarding the size of the current government's ministers who've been giving appointments and names that have come up, there have been concerns for and against the size and the people that have been mentioned, the numbers that have come up as well. And we'll quickly run you through some of the basic salaries that's here pay for ministers and for deputy ministers, as well as MPs. We have 14,826 Ghana cedis, and for deputy regional ministers, MPs as well, we have 14,598 Ghana cedis. Deputy ministers who are not MPs, specifically mentioned here, non-MPs, that's we have that amount stated here, and that is 15,739 Ghana cedis. And let's quickly go back to that. And for deputy regional ministers who are not MPs, we have 142,000, and 142 chairman, that's Council of State. We also added that for you to know, and 14,826. And move on shortly to some other statistics that we have for you here. That's for regional ministers, MPs, 15,967. Regional ministers who are not MPs, 15,100, and that's 15,511 Ghana cedis. And for you to know, these figures are without accommodation, those allowances that come with it. And you have it here: accommodation, security, travel outside Ghana, per diem, transportation, driver's salary, clothing allowance, because all these make up the salary of the MPs and ministers as well. And the figures I mentioned or stated right now does not include these, and we'll work on those arithmetics and the figures and put that together and let you know that as well. But shortly we will be going to Parliament, where there's a reaction. My colleague Evelyn Tigma spoke to the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mohammed on this very issue.
And I think maybe Steve Gibson's just thought, before
Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. Well, I mean, it's the largest we've had since the Fourth Republic. I'm sure that the history of Ghana, this is the largest government that we've had. I mean, I see the problems in 3 levels. One, the size is so big, you are making democracy very expensive for the ordinary person, having to know that these ministers have to be given houses, they have to be given vehicles, they have to be fuel, they have to be chauffeur-driven, they have to be given security, and what have you. I mean, this is very, very too expensive for the ordinary person, and we are making democracy very expensive. I doubt how many presidential staffers he will end up having if ministers is having 110. That is one leg. The second leg is that the more people you put together around one end, the likelihood of confusion. I mean, you put a ministry, you have a minister, you have the minister of state, you have 3 deputies. I mean, then this deputy says that, oh, he's sending this person more than any of us. I mean, he doesn't like me. And rationally, I've been a minister before. People go there with 3 interests: the national interest, the party or the president interest, and then their personal interest. So the more people you put around the same place, the more the personal interest. And I doubt whether the president has really thought through it very well, because at the end of the day, I believe that we are likely to have more conflict at the various ministries with the number of deputy ministers and ministers. But the most important of all the 3 worry for me is Parliament. Now, I mean, you've taken ministers. Parliament has appointed or gone through the motion to get their chairpersons of the committees and the vice chairpersons. And believe me, before someone is chosen as a chairperson of a committee or vice chairperson of a committee, the person is very conversant with the happenings of the House. The person is very conversant with the rules of the House. The person is very conversant with the committee. Now, all of them have been swept into what do you call a deputy ministerial position. What it means is that now the majority will be struggling to get another set of chairpersons and vice chairpersons. And that would definitely affect the operations of the House. I mean, oversight is going to be a challenge, because with the exception of public accounts and subsidiary legislation, almost all the committees are chaired by the majority. We've not been able to change the standing orders of the House to make it so that percentage of the committees will also be chaired by minority. So what it will mean is that majority, the chairpersons are gone, some of the vice chairpersons are gone. Now they have to now be struggling to look within to get persons to chair this committee and vice chair the committee. What it will mean is that if they can't get people who are very conversant with those committees to chair, they must still chair it. So they will end up putting just any persons to chair committees. And obviously, that will affect oversight, because on each of the committee, if you take finance committee, 25 members, minority has 10. You take health committee, 20, minority has 7. So on each of the committee, they are in the majority. So if you don't have a very good chairperson or vice chairpersons that know the rules of the House and know how to navigate within this committee, what it's going to mean is that, as usual, it's going to be partisanship, because all the person has in his hand is hammer. So everything else is a nail. So the person will just be true partisanship, and I think it's going to affect the House. And for the first time, I'm also beginning to believe we need to separate the executive from the legislature, so that we can have dedicated legislators who are working to strengthen Parliament. And I think Parliament will be much, much, much better.
Yeah, it's a minority word, because these are members from the majority side, and so if they don't come to work, is that a case of the minority?
Well, it's not about if they don't come to work. What will happen is that, like yesterday, when we were doing all the debates, how many of them were there? But the moment they realized that there was this threat of vote, people were being called, they were running in, they just come in, they don't even know what they are voting, and they'll vote. I mean, you can't fault them. I mean, when we're in the majority, we're doing the same. You just run in, you don't even know what the issue are, and you are voting. You will continue to have more of that, because many of them are ministers. And suddenly, people that are very conversant with the rules are going. I'm not in any way doubting those who are left. But the challenge is that majority are gone. So you are going to leave the House with members who will be struggling to cope. Because someone may be very good at rules. He's been on the rules committee for long. Now, because of vacancy, they say he should go and chair health committee. He's not very familiar with the issues. And he has to chair. Because